che mi fa parlare. So we haven't really spoken about Beatrice. So in people who may not be aware, who is Beatrice? Is she an imagined person? Well, in a sense, yes, but she was a real person, Beatrice Pontinari, who lived not far from where Dante lived. They grew up together. Dante first literally laid eyes on her at Beatrice's 9th birthday party that Dante was invited to. The families knew each other. And to say he was smitten is probably the wrong word, but there's something in the look and manner of Beatrice that from that moment, from a 9-year-old Dante, had never left him and sort of continued to grow. And it's whether there's a sexual tone to it, there probably is to some extent, but it's more a fascination with beauty. She married, her family arranged a marriage for her, and unfortunately died fairly young. I'm not sure if it was in childbirth or something of that nature. And Dante was absolutely grief-stricken. So there's been from when he's 9, and he wrote poems about her, and a lot of the Vita Nuova book of poetry and prose is dedicated to, or has Beatrice as the underlying character. But it's like this unattainable, complete emblem of goodness, not just beauty, physical beauty, but goodness, and something that points you to your better angels, as it were. You'd have to say that that there was really an obsession that Dante had for Beatrice, and both probably the person, but more what he imagined or what he created the person to represent in his own mind. Because to him, Beatrice represented the things that you do right, as it were, and how good, when you do right things, how good things turn out. So it's quite a complex. I think Freud would have an absolute field day. If you read further about this, there's quite a good book called Dante in Love. I can't recall the author that I've got in my collection, and it's well worth a read to understand a bit more about the background to this. Really, they really never had a relationship, barely a speaking relationship, but there was definitely some sort of psychological, relationship in Dante's mind with this personage. And it's Beatrice who is the guide who takes over from Virgil up in the upper reaches of purgatory. And just interestingly, it's one of those tercinas that you roll around in your head and you don't forget. When she appears, it's the 3 lines are sovra candido velo cinto d'olive, under a candid veil circled with olive leaves, the candid being white. Donna m'apparea, a woman appeared to me. Sovra manto verde, vestita di colore di fiamma viva. So, woman appears to him with a white veil, with olive wreath around the veil on her head, a green cloak, and vestita di fiamma viva, dressed with a dress of flaming red. So you've got white, you've got green, you've got red, and this is the actual derivation of the Italian flag. The flag was constructed out of this particular tercina, and what Beatrice looked like when she appeared to Dante and takes over from Virgil, and incidentally gives him a complete dressing down, but that's another story. So that's a lovely line, Donna m'apparea, a woman appeared to me. Also interesting, getting back to our original, where we're at, line 71, I came from a place where I truly desire to return. Vengo del loco ove tornare desio. This is quite interesting. I mean, you can imagine somebody being in heaven. How good is it? You can think of yourself in a state where you're really contented. Everything's gone right. You feel very happy with the world, with yourself. Multiply that feeling by at least 1 million, and you've probably come somewhere near the feeling or the experience of someone sitting up amongst the blessed in heaven. So to take yourself from that position to come down to this earth that we're on, this let alone earth, but just at the doorstep of the Inferno, you would truly have to agree that somewhere where you would really, I've come down, but gee, I really want to go back there as soon as I can. And this is a theme that reappears later in the Inferno when St. Michael, Archangel Michael, has to come down and help the guys out outside the gates of Dis, and he appears, really somewhat pissed off having to come down, and again, because he's leaving a place which is so desirable, to come down and sort out an issue here, in this case here in Inferno. So that line 72, it's such a powerful line. Amore mi mosse, just 3 words, but it's got a real resonance. And as I said earlier in the intro, it bounces right to the end of the commedia, the very last line, amore che muove il sole e l'altro stelle. You've got this same concept of movement. Here you've got amore mi mosse, and in the very last line of the commedia, you've got amore che muove, the sun, the love that moves the sun and other stars. So it's as if, Dante, we know he's a Christian, and this thing is a very, very strong theme, the Catholicism that runs throughout the Commedia and the Christianity. But it's nearly as if he's saying, well, actually, it's love that's the binding agent that works across the entire universe. And here right at the beginning of the poem is Beatrice saying, I really came down because it's love that moved me. Anyway, she goes on to say, when I shall be before my Lord, I will